People are hating on this movie, but to me, it's an instant holiday classic. Let's do it. So it's Christmas time, and this girl named Winnie Carruthers is looking forward to spending the holiday with her friends and family. She's upset because her dad has to work because he has a business arrangement with his business partners. Business partners are these two brothers, Henry and Buck Waters. Now, Henry is clearly the dominant one, and he is played by Justin Long, and he has this like fake ass spray tan and fake ass teeth and this like really high pitched voice, and you just want to punch him in the face the whole time. Meanwhile, Buck just acts really dumb. He's like really just concerned with his OnlyFans and his TikTok, and that's it. So Henry wants to build this new like car dealership, but to be able to do that, he needs to purchase this land from Roger Evans. But Roger is basically like, no, this is a family home and you are not taking it from me. And Roger is the grandfather of Winnie's best friend, Kara. So he refuses to sell him the property. Henry leaves defeated, and then we see the Carruthers family celebrating Christmas. So it's Winnie's mom and dad, and her brother Jimmy. Now, Winnie and Jimmy, along with Kara, end up leaving to go to a friend's party. While they're on the way to the party, we cut to Roger again. But this time, Roger gets a knock on his door, and when he answers, it is this killer dressed in an angel costume, and they him. Meanwhile, we go back to the party and we see Kara sneaking away with her boyfriend, and while they're kissing, the angel sneaks up behind him and offs him. And then a chase scene happens between him and Kara, and just as you think she's about to get away and she's going to get to the house and get help, he catches up to her and offs her. Brutally, might I add. So Winnie comes outside and sees this and tries to save Kara and is obviously completely horrified. So the angel is still trying to go after people, but Winnie and her brother Jimmy go after him. So the angel ends up getting on top of Jimmy and is about to kill him, but before he is able to do so, Winnie electrocutes him and he dies. And when she goes to unmask him, it is none other than Henry frickin' Waters. So obviously he killed Roger to get his property to build his fucking car dealership. So now we fast forward to a year later. It's Christmas time again, and Winnie is the only one that seems to still be mourning the deaths of the people who they lost the year prior. Like, her family is just completely ignoring it. They refuse to talk about it, and they're honestly being like assholes to her for no reason. For Christmas, they give her a sweatsuit, and then they give her brother Jimmy a truck. So obviously she's pissed, and she goes to a party, again at the same house, and she goes to find her boyfriend and finds him making out with somebody else. Before she finds him, she runs into this girl named Bernie, who everybody refers to as weirdo, and she's kind of just like the social outcast. And she tries to lie to Winnie about where her boyfriend is because she knows what's happening and doesn't want her to get hurt. Then she runs into Henry's brother Buck, who's like, I should hurt you for what you did to my brother. Like, sir, your brother killed a whole bunch of people. Anyway, so Winnie is clearly feeling very defeated right now, and she goes to this bridge and looks up in the sky and sees like this aurora borealis, and she says, I wish I was never born. Everybody would have been a lot better off. And all of a sudden, the aurora borealis disappears and the power in the town goes out. And when the power comes back on, Winnie turns around to see the angel killing somebody. So Winnie is obviously very confused, but there's a cop nearby, so she runs to him, and it turns out to be Buck Waters, who she knows is not a cop. Again, TikTok, OnlyFans. And he seems to have no recollection of her, has no idea who she is. And he starts talking about the angel, and he's like, oh, I guess this is victim like 25 or whatever. And when he's like, 25. Like, he only killed 4 people. So then when he's like, I know who the angel is, like, I killed him, what the fuck are you talking about? Until all of a sudden, a very alive Henry Waters shows up, who is also now the town mayor. So she goes home, and her parents also do not recognize her. So at this point, Winnie realizes that her wish came true, and she in this life has never been born. And because she was not there to stop Henry as the angel, his killing spree has continued, and he has killed dozens of people, including her brother Jimmy. So Winnie doesn't know what to do at this point. She goes to the house where the parties have been taking place. And she sees that everybody's clearly not doing well. Like, they're all strung out. Like, nobody's okay. And she runs into Bernie, aka Weirdo, which everybody still calls her Weirdo. So she starts to tell Bernie, like, I made a wish I was never born. I think it's coming true. Bernie takes Winnie home, where Winnie finds out that Bernie has, like, a really sad life. Like, her mother's never around. She spends Christmas by herself. And Bernie is suddenly like, I don't really know if I trust you. What if you're the angel? But she very quickly lets that go once the angel breaks in and attacks them. They end up escaping, and they hide out in this movie theater nearby where Bernie works. So as they're talking out what's happening, they realize that the angel has been targeting the kids of property owners of properties that Henry wants to take over the town, basically. And by killing their kids, it makes them spiral into a depression and therefore sell Henry their property. So Winnie's like, my father is his business partner. I need him to help us. So they go back to the house and they run into Winnie's aunt, played by Catherine Isabelle, our queen. And Winnie tells a personal story which convinces her aunt that she is who she says she is. So she goes in, she's talking to her dad about the whole thing, and she kind of starts to make a breakthrough, but then she accuses Henry of killing Jimmy. And her father gets absolutely pissed and yells at her to leave. As she's going to leave, she runs into her mother, who is now an alcoholic, and they find her in the kitchen being offed by the angel. And then the angel attacks Bernie, Winnie, and her aunt. They manage to knock the angel out, but when they go to unmask him this time, it's not Henry, it's her father. So he regains consciousness, but again, they manage to escape and they go back to the movie theater. Now, the three of them come up with this plan to get the angel to come to the movie theater where they're going to attack him and catch him off guard. They're waiting at the movie theater and they think it's him walking in, but turns out it's actually Winnie's ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend. And while they're distracted, he offs Winnie's aunt, R.I.P. Catherine. So the angel now turns on Bernie and Winnie, who again now is Winnie's father, and Winnie manages to impale him and kill him. So Winnie thinks all is well, thinks that she's done everything she needs to do, and she goes back to the bridge to wish on the Aurora Borealis that she has her old life, but nothing happens. And they realize it's because Henry is still alive, and he is the main villain in this whole thing, so he has to die. So this is the part that kind of lost me. They show up to the town center and Henry is hosting like this Christmas party with everybody in the town. But everybody seems to be under this like mind control. Their eyes are all super blue. Henry publicly executes his own brother and nobody in the crowd has any reaction to it. So then Winnie and Bernie show up and they confront him and blame him for all the deaths. They're like, we know who you are. We know what you did. And Henry at this point admits that when he killed Jimmy, he completely broke his father's spirit. And that's how he managed to put him under a spell and convince him to do his bidding. He then tries to kill Winnie and Bernie, but there's this really funny scene where they just like start punching him in the face like Winnie, Bernie, Winnie, Bernie. Bernie ends up stabbing and killing him, which then breaks the spell and all the townspeople come to. They then go back to the bridge and they prepare for Winnie to go back home because now mission accomplished. And they kiss, so turns out they're in love. And then Winnie wakes up once again in her own bed. She goes downstairs, she sees her family, everybody's alive, including Jimmy. They all kind of reconcile and her parents give her like a nicer gift. And then all of a sudden she's like, holy shit, Bernie. Because in the previous life, Bernie had told Winnie that this Christmas was going to be her last and then she was going to end it. So Winnie's like, holy shit, I hope there's still time. I need to go save her. So Winnie shows up on Bernie's doorstep and she starts trying to like frantically explain the whole thing. And Bernie just looks at her and is like, don't worry, I remember. So she also has memories of this parallel life and they kiss and it's happily ever after.